Hey everyone, welcome. We all love our smart homes, right? The convenience is just incredible. But have you ever stopped to think about what's really going on underneath it all? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on our home networks and unpack what's happening. So, let's get into it.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll talk about this, invisible data extraction that's constantly happening. Then, we're going to put a name to this system behind it, surveillance capitalism. From there, we'll zoom right into your living room to see how it operates, explore the massive data trap it creates, and finally, we'll look at how people are starting to fight back.
All right, so just think about your day-to-day. Your smart thermostat kicks on right before you wake up. You ask your voice assistant for the weather. On the surface, these feel like tiny, separate little interactions, right? Well, they're not. They're all little breadcrumbs in a huge, constant stream of data that's flowing out of your house 24/7.
And that really brings us to the big question, the one that kicks this whole thing off. When you're not actively talking to these devices, when you're just living your life, what are they really doing?
Well, the short answer is they're always working. They are quietly observing, collecting, and then beaming data about the rhythm of your life, your patterns, your habits, back to some server farm hundreds of miles away. And you have to understand, this isn't some glitch or a bug. It's the entire point of the system.
So all this data collection, it's not random. It's the fuel for a very specific, very powerful economic engine. And to really get what's happening in our homes, we first have to understand the system they're designed to serve. And that system is called surveillance capitalism.
Okay, so what is that? At its heart, it's a business model that treats your personal life as if it were a free natural resource, kind of like oil or timber, just waiting to be mined. This resource is extracted, analyzed, and then used to predict and even shape what you're going to do next. And the goal? To sell that certainty to other businesses.
This quote from Professor Shoshana Zuboff, who literally wrote the book on this, just nails it. The key phrase here is unilateral claiming. Think about what that means. It means they don't ask for permission in any meaningful way. They just take it. They claim ownership over parts of your life that were never, ever for sale.
So how does the model actually work? It's pretty simple, really. 3 steps. First, they extract what Zuboff calls behavioral surplus. Think of a Google search. The data you type in gets you results, but the extra data, how you search, what you click on, your spelling, that's the surplus. That's the gold. Step 2, that surplus is processed to create products that predict your behavior. And step 3, companies sell those predictions, not your data, but the insights from it.
Okay, so we have this massive economic model. How does it get into your home? Well, the home is the new frontier. And why? Because it's where we're most unguarded, most authentic. And for this business model, that authenticity is the most valuable raw material on the planet.
Just take your Nest thermostat. Its main job is temperature control, but the data it collects tells a much, much bigger story. It logs the exact moments your day begins and ends. It knows your work schedule, when the house is empty, and when it's full. It is a perfect example of how a simple convenience becomes a powerful surveillance tool. And we're not talking about a fuzzy picture here. As Sean O'Brien from Yale Privacy Lab points out, the data is incredibly precise. By combining temperature changes with proximity signals, these systems can map out the daily rhythm of your household with astonishing accuracy. But it gets even deeper. Let's look at the router, the watchtower of your home network. On the left, Google says they don't track the websites you visit. Sounds good, right? But on the right is what's been documented. The router intercepts data to fingerprint every single device, creating a unique ID for your phone, your laptop, your TV, and sends those identifiers out. It's a masterclass in saying one thing while doing another. Now, this data doesn't just stay with one company. The power of the smart home is that everything works together. But this convenience creates a data-sharing free-for-all, locking you into a web of agreements you likely never even realized you made.
And the scale of this problem is staggering. As this chart shows, a review of privacy policies found that 58% explicitly allow sharing your data. Another 32% are intentionally vague. Only a tiny 10% actually prohibit it. In the smart home, sharing isn't the exception, it's the rule.
Think you can give informed consent? Think again. Researchers calculated that to fully understand the data policies for a single Nest thermostat and all its partner services, you'd need to read nearly 1,000 separate contracts. It's not just impractical, it's impossible.
And here's the kicker. Once your data is shared, the original company often washes its hands of it. That same study concluded that Nest takes virtually no responsibility for what its partners do with your information. It's a system designed for maximum data flow with minimum accountability.
It all sounds pretty bleak, I know, but as awareness grows, so does resistance. People are starting to understand what's at stake, and they're fighting back, both on their own networks and by demanding broader change.
We're seeing a rise in technical self-defense. Users are creating isolated networks to contain their smart devices. They're using tools like Pi-hole to block data transmissions back to corporate servers, and they're making a simple but powerful choice. If a feature isn't being used, it gets turned off. But individual fixes can only go so far. As Shoshana Zuboff argues, this is a systemic problem that requires a systemic solution. Personal tech hygiene is important, but it can't fix an economic model that is fundamentally extractive. The real change has to come from collective action and democratic governance.
Because ultimately, this isn't just about data privacy. It's about protecting our autonomy. The final goal of this system isn't just to monitor us, but as Zuboff says, to automate us, to subtly guide our behavior towards the most profitable outcomes, often without us even realizing we're being nudged. So that leaves us with one last question to consider. We traded a little bit of privacy for a lot of convenience. But what we're now realizing is that we may also be trading away something far more valuable: control. Control over our own lives and our own choices. Is that a price you're willing to pay? Thanks for tuning in.